You are now watching a True Knicks Talk podcast post-game show live with your host, CP.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the True Knicks Talk post-game show, playoff edition. Just getting wrapped up with Game 3, giving our initial thoughts. This might be a not safe for work episode because we are here to discuss an absolute abomination of a game all across the board. We're going to be giving our honest rants and honest thoughts and opinions about this laugher of a game, to be honest with you. And it's just absolutely a horrible job by the officiating. But nonetheless, we'll talk about it. We'll be objective as possible about this loss. But anyways, Nick, how you doing today? And just give me your initial thoughts. We'll delve into it, but give me your initial thoughts.
I don't understand how, when you have the ability of replay, you can watch a guy while he's on the ground grab a guy's ankle, pull him down, and then shove him as he's falling down, and you come away with that and say it's only a flagrant one. If that doesn't get you kicked out of the game, short of just like straight up cold clocking somebody and punching them in the face, I don't understand what does. He'd already kneed Hartenstein in the balls, which that should have been called a flagrant one right there. He should have gotten a second flagrant one and gotten tossed. And then later on, he goes ahead and he knees Mitch in the balls, which causes Mitch to fall awkwardly on his ankle, and now Mitch is out of the game. I guess he couldn't take him out, so blatantly by just grabbing his ankle that he had to do that. I don't get it. They got the chance to go and replay it. I need to hear the explanation on how that's just a flagrant one and not a flagrant two. A flagrant one is when you do something that doesn't necessarily have intent, but it still ends up result-wise being something that is reckless. A flagrant two is when you do something that is intent and it's reckless and it can hurt somebody. What else do I need to see? Fuck Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, he's a bitch. He was being a bitch the entire night. He tries to go up for a three and act like he got fouled. He didn't get fouled, and he got rewarded for that shit. And now Mitch is out. I'm fucking furious. He's the new Chase Utley for me. He's the new Chase Utley for me. That's some bitch shit. And we should have sent a goon. We should have sent fucking Sims in and had him bust his ass. You cannot do that. It's just not basketball. If you do that shit in the park, I'm fucking you up. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Everything you just said is valid. It's true. And the Knicks have a serious gripe right now. And a lot of people are going to come on here. If you watch this post game, if you go on X and see Knicks fans complaining about the refs, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, shut up. The refs took Game 2 from the Sixers. I don't give a damn, bro. I don't give a damn about any of that. You have a play like that you have a player. We all talk about the Miami Heat and all the things that they do deliberately hurting players. Well, you have one of your MVPs, a guy that gets rewarded with 20 plus free throws almost every damn night, trying, flopping, and purposely hurting the guy that's sent out there to neutralize him, and you have him purposely taken out. This is absolutely egregious. It's egregious. Before we get into any further, because this is going to get a little rowdy, this is going to get a little, just in your face, and I really hope that people watching are as just fired up about this as us, especially if you're a Knicks fan, because there's no room for any of that in the game of basketball, bro. Like, I don't care who you are, there's no room for that, especially a guy that came back from a lower extremity injury anyways, literally just got surgery on his ankle. You're gonna pull that? There's no excuse for that. As always, guys, we appreciate you being here. Drop your comments in the live chat, your raw initial reactions, drop it in the live chat. Not only that, make sure you hit that thumbs up button for us as well. Subscribe to the channel, all that jazz, you know what to do. Not only my channel as well, but in the description, he did this to me on YouTube. Subscribe, all that good stuff, all that promo stuff. And I do apologize. In the heat of the moment, I was sort of fumbling to sort of make these graphics, and I do have 125 to 114 in reverse order. That's how they're going to appear on every single slide. But as you all know, the Knicks dropped Game 3. It is 125 to 114 in favor of Philadelphia. The series is now 2-1, as Game 4 versus Philadelphia will be a huge one for the New York Knicks. And this is a series-changing game, and Mitchell Robinson's injury, out for the rest of the game with the ankle sprain, has the ability to change the rest of the series. And I'll just leave it at that. But obviously here, before we get into the team statistics, any sort of game analysis, Embiid quite clearly should have been ejected in this ball game. Not like on multiple occasions, there was definitely questionable sort of decisions that he made. But the one decision to grab Mitchell Robinson's ankle while he was on the ground and Mitchell Robinson was jumping up is quite literally, let alone the fact that he's flopping all over the court and got 20 plus free throws in this game, and the Knicks only got 19, 20 free throws total. That's a disgraceful basketball move, Nick. And I know you already said your piece about it, but I need everybody at home watching this. If you didn't see the play, go back on X, and if it doesn't come up on your feed, type in Embiid and Robinson in the search bar. You're going to see the video, and you make the judgment for yourself. As an objective basketball fan, that's bullshit. That is bullshit. Joel Embiid, himself suffering from lower extremity injuries on his knee, is laboring, is limping. It has been this whole series. To pull something like that, bro, that speaks volumes about Embiid, first of all.
And they didn't mention it once during the halftime show on TNT. I, unfortunately, because I'm out of market, am forced to watch TNT and can't watch the and can't watch the MSG feed. And they didn't mention it once. The fact that they said something about how he needs to be less emotional. Like, yo, as basketball players, as guys who played in this league, as anybody, like I said, if you've ever even played in the park, man, that is just such a bush league pussy move. I'm sorry, man. You do something like that, and you do something like that to my homeboy, to some dude I'm running fives with who I don't even know. You do that to him in the park, and I'm running up on you at least like, yo, what the fuck, man? Come on. I just don't understand how you do that. And first of all, just the lack of respect that you have for the game and for your fellow sportsmen to do something like that, where there's nothing else that you're trying to do other than hurt him right there. It's not even like there's nothing about him trying to make a play on the ball. He's just trying to hurt him right there. And you combine that with the two other nut shots that he delivered. And it's just like, come on, man. Like, this is not basketball, and you shouldn't be rewarded for that, and there's no place for it in the game. And if you want to compare it to what happened at the end of game 2, which let's not talk, we already talked about the 5 different things that they did wrong in that scenario, but that all happened in real time at the end of a game, and it's frantic, and sometimes refs make mistakes. They got a chance to watch it. We all got a chance to see what exactly happened. The same thing that I've now seen over and over again, and that every single person on Twitter is saying. I don't see any Philly people coming on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it and trying to defend him for what he did. Nobody's trying to defend him. It's indefensible. It's out of control, and I just don't even understand what we're talking about right now. And you reward this guy with that. And then I don't want to hear anything else about the goddamn basketball gods, because after that, he can't miss a shot. And in the third quarter, you know what? They're never going to shoot like that again. Brunson is found. They're never going to shoot like that again. Brunson has found his mojo. He's back. And as Kenny Smith said towards the end, I'm not sorry, Greg Anthony said towards the end of the game, if the Knicks score like that, shoot like that, and turn the ball over that not that frequently, they're going to win most games, okay? They are never going to shoot like that again. The next game, I want people stepping under Embiid's feet every single time he goes up for a shot until you get that first flagrant foul. I don't care. We have to fight fire with fire. If he's going to play like that, then we have to meet him at that level. And that's the thing. I love the fact that we actually stayed very composed today, and we continue to get it done, and we continue to play physical. And that's not how they're really built, okay? They're not really built like that. They were being outside of themselves, and the refs let them do it. It wasn't just Embiid. They were playing great. And you know what? Another thing, OG Anunoby, when he fell on Tyrese Maxey's ankle, you saw him put his arm down and go out of his way not to roll him up right there. Are you telling me Embiid wouldn't have let his big ass 280-pound ass fall on that guy's ankle to try to get him out of the game with the way that he conducts himself? It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I don't want to hear anything from anybody about the refs, because that is one of the most blatant, just absolute terrible no calls and just an absolute disregard of the rules. And it may have cost us our backup center and a guy who had huge impact in this series thus far. And you now leave this guy in the game to end up having his greatest playoff game of all time. I don't get it. I don't get it.
This extends beyond just Joel Embiid being a scumbag. This is also on the referees for, like you said, enabling him to do that and allowing him to do that by just let alone staying in the game, but also continuing to kick people in the groin and do whatever the hell else he was doing out there. And also on top of that, reward him for even more free throws that he doesn't deserve. With even more free throws that he doesn't deserve. That's first and foremost. And also beyond that, it extends to the freaking announcers, which honestly I wasn't listening to because I was doing a little bit of an NFL draft watch party. So I was kind of watching it on mute. But if they didn't also call that out and call a spade for what it was and what they literally saw out there in live action, then shame on those announcers too. Don't know who was calling the game. If you didn't speak on it, shame on you. And, it's just absolutely ridiculous, And I'm actually mind blown that we're sitting here time after time after time talking about dirty players and everybody's causing a hoopla about dirty this, dirty that. And then when Joel Embiid gets to do it, nobody's going to bat an eye. Absolutely egregious and absolutely just terrible that you would even think about doing that with a guy that you know that just came back from an ankle injury himself. Like that's bro, nothing more to that. Let me get to the chat here real quick here before we go on that. We got Hollywood Ray in the chat. That man Embiid turned into Kurt Angle. Yeah, it's dude.
Let's get to
Hollywood
the chat
Ray.
real quick, because your boy Samuel Fennick says this guy Nick is all bark and no bite. Saying that somebody is all bark and no bite from behind a keyboard is one of the most, I mean, like, are you serious? Dog, you're behind the keyboard. How you gonna, it's the definition of all bark, no bite. And I don't really know what it is. I tried to look up, what a fennec was, because I'm pretty sure I've heard that before. There's such thing as called a fennec fox. It's a very meek looking animal. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Samuel, when he looks in the mirror, he sees the exact same. But I saying you're all bark, no bite from behind the keyboard is one of the softest things I've ever heard of.
On another note too, we got Mason in the chat. We appreciate you, Mason. Thank you for coming over here into the stream. We appreciate it with the 199 super chat. Definitely appreciate it. Listen, Embiid is a jerk. He is a lot of things. Listen, is he a good basketball player? Yeah, he's a good basketball player. I'm not going to say he's not. But that dude needs to get a reality check, like you said, Nick. Like there needs to be a reality check. And we talk about it in baseball. There's such thing as retaliation. And I don't know what way the Knicks want to retaliate, if they're going to, or they're just going to take the high road. That's on them. But that's a bad move from Joel Embiid. To have the star, one of the faces of the NBA, pull something like that, when after all these years, he can't get out of the second round, the announcers were making sure that they were saying that. Yeah, it's a bad move. Shout out to you, Mason. I appreciate you always supporting the stream. It means a lot. Listen, I don't know if I need to say anything more about this. Embiid avoids the ejection. The referees were very generous with that flagrant and only being a flagrant. Do you have anything more on this topic? Because this is honestly, we can go on about this for days. And quite simply, I'd like to assess the actual game of basketball that was played. Because honestly, I feel like the Knicks didn't play horrendous basketball. I feel like they played okay. You know what I mean?
I thought that the Knicks played very well offensively. I thought in the third quarter, I thought that Philly got hot, and you knew they were going to make a run, and it was aided by the fact that you can't guard this guy Embiid. You can't get close to him. He can initiate all the contact, and it doesn't matter. It's going to be called a foul. Some of those fouls against Hartenstein were just absolute craziness. If how does Jalen Brunson, the smallest guy on the court, not get the whistle that the biggest guy on the court gets? It's really, really hard to understand. But with all that being said, Jalen Brunson found his way. We played very well offensively in general. I mean, I think we shot 50% from the field. We shot 40% from three. We scored 114 points. Uh, I feel very, very comfortable with the way that we played, and I just don't think that there's any way that they'll be able to duplicate that type of shooting. And they needed all of it to be able to beat us. It was a 7-point game with a couple minutes to go, and I feel very, very confident going into Sunday, especially because I know we got a bunch of dogs on our team, and they're going to go back and they're going to see this, and they're going to come out with a certain chip. We don't even need to do anything dirty. We just need to go out there and bust their ass. Okay. Yep. And we need to go out there and we need to play the way that we always play. And the cream will rise to the top. They will not have that type of shooting once again. Guys like Cam Payne, and there were that stretch in the fourth where everybody was, getting off. And, at the end of the day, we're going to win this series. We're going to win this series. Embiid had his one game. And, I don't know. Typically, the refs make a correction. It seemed like tonight they made the correction towards them. So I think hopefully Embiid is under the microscope next game, and they don't let him get away with some of this bullshit that he's doing. It's just deplorable. It's absolutely disgusting what we saw on the floor tonight. And even if this is something that when I see Draymond do some shit like this and it has nothing to do with the Knicks, I feel the exact same way. And that's the type of shit he did tonight. The only difference is that he got away with it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And this type of game reminds me of what we saw last night with the Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics. Miami Heat shot damn near 60%, couldn't miss from three, only beat the Celtics by about 9 points. And that just tells you, like, the Sixers needed their best game and their best effort to beat the Knicks by it was closer than the 11-point victory that they had. But I was very proud of the effort. Listen, the closeouts sometimes weren't there in the third quarter. They couldn't miss from the third quarter. I think some of the closeouts were there. They were good. The Knicks definitely got caught on the rotations on a couple of possessions. And that needs to be cleaned up because I was getting a little bit reminiscent of vibes of the 2022-2023 playoffs there. But on some of those three-pointers as well, it's like, it wasn't all bad rotations. Quite simply, it was just they couldn't miss. Cam Payne hitting threes out of nowhere. Kyle Lowry couldn't miss. Joel Embiid couldn't miss. I believe he gave the Knicks 19 points in the third quarter, which is absolutely ridiculous. That's not going to happen again if I had to guess. Listen, man, I don't want to discount Embiid and what he's going to do for the rest of the series, but needing your best game to shoot that lights out from everywhere, right? I mean, you talk about 3-point percentage here, 54% from three, damn near 55%. Listen, 43.3% for the Knicks. I'll take that all day long. But a team that's shooting over 50%, you're gonna be hard pressed to beat them. Josh Hart had also just continuing a fire series for Josh Hart. Really proud of the way that he played. And OG Anunoby getting involved there, especially late with a couple three-pointers. I believe he had 17 points just about on the game as well. So a guy that the Knicks really definitely needed in this game to sort of maybe just sort of, I guess, match what the Philadelphia 76ers were doing, but just simply wasn't there, was Dante DiVincenzo. He had a quiet game, and he had especially a crucial three that if it went down, I believe would have cut the lead to about 3 points at some point there down the stretch in the second half after the Knicks came back and gave it their best effort, but it just simply couldn't fall for Dante DiVincenzo. And listen, the point here is that for me, especially looking at the rest of this series, but also if the Knicks advance, how they're going to have to play for the rest of these NBA playoffs, they are not going to be like, this is going to be the precedent of most games. Like the Knicks are not going to go into any arena, let alone MSG, and blow anybody out. Like that's just not how it's going to be. So they need to shore up these close games. They did it in the first two games, and I expect them to do it more often in this series than not and win and close it out, hopefully in a gentleman's sweep, obviously because it's now 2-1. But I was actually proud of the Knicks' effort. I was thinking they were going to weather the storm, maybe make a final push there in the fourth quarter and sort of take it. But you know what? Philly gets a game. More power to him. Maxey had, I believe, up to 30 points. I don't think he hit the 30-point mark, but Joel Embiid was doing most of the heavy lifting because he's got 20 free throws on the night. I believe he only finished with 45, 47. I don't have the box score in front of me, but half those points were free throws. Actually, he finished with 50. So, yeah, man, that's disgraceful basketball. I need to see a cleaner game from the officiating. Straight up. I just do. It needs to be better. And because you look at the discrepancy here, like you take the field goal percentage, that's a match. The 3-point shooting, not terrible for the Knicks. The free throw percentage is pretty bad. You can't shoot 68% from the line, from the charity stripe, and expect to win a ball game. So listen, man, I'm not mad at this loss. I'm mad at the officiating. I'm not mad at this loss. The way the Knicks lost this game, if that makes sense.
I'm totally with you on that. As far as we continue to fight, and as I've said, we got Brunson on track. We got OG scoring. Yeah, this guy Samuel Fennick. I mean, come on, the Fox guy. Yeah, the refs balanced the series tonight. They didn't balance the series. It was a clear, and him saying that there's different angles where he didn't grab the ankle. I don't even know what that means. The guy was on the ground. He reached up and he grabbed the guy by his legs or ankle, foot, whatever you want to call it. He grabbed him by his legs. Sam's clearly played zero basketball in his life, because anybody who's ever played any basketball
There's
knows
no excusing
it's just the dirtiest shit. Like low bridging a guy, doing that, those types of things. Like, come on, man, you just do not do that. And it's the definition. It was both reckless and intentional and could cause injury. It's the definition of what a flagrant 2 is. And when you go out of your way to stick your leg out to kick a guy in his balls, that's the definition of what a flagrant 1 is. Okay, so there's about 3 different instances where he should have gotten tossed out. And yes, Samuel, when you say that I'm all bark, all bite in the comments of my post game, then yes, I'm going to come back at you. You attacked me. So you saying I don't need to attack you, then don't come at me if you don't want the smoke. You came for me, said I was all bark, no bite, something you can never prove in real life from behind the keyboard. And then when I come back at you, now you want to clutch your pearls? Man, take that shit somewhere else. At the end of the day, I'm not having that tonight. I'm not having it. And if you want to come at me with the nonsense, I'm going to let you know about it. All right? So I can do it in chat. I can do it in stream. Any way you like it, I can serve it up. And this is just some straight bullshit, man. And the Knicks overall, they played a decent game. We shot the 3 well. Josh Hart continues to get it done, as you said before. Your boy Ragu, all of a sudden he was off the mark after he got hit in the face and got hit in the eye. And I'm glad they at least called a flagrant on that, because that was just like, you're not going for the ball at all. You're strictly trying to just, I don't know exactly what you're trying to do there. They're supposed to be cool. They're supposed to be Nova boys. But that was some wild, reckless shit too right there, man. And you get hit in the eye and get caught right by your eye as a shooter. I'm sure that changes things for you a little bit. Yeah, but, I think Ragu, he'll come back. He'll do his thing. He had a tough game 1 and then obviously was the hero in game 2 and played a solid game throughout. And we just got to be a little bit better as far as some of our closeouts in the third quarter. I mean, some of those shots that Joel's hitting, there's just nothing that you can do with that. If he's gonna hit pull-up threes with guys in his face, then he's gonna do that. And Maxey only had 25 on 9 of 21 shooting, so we were able to keep him in check to a certain extent. And Embiid ends up shooting 21 free throws. In addition to that egregious bullshit that he was allowed to get away with, and I feel great about it. If we match our performance tonight, they can't beat us, because they'll never match it. Joel Embiid is not scoring 50 a game, and they are not shooting from the 3-point line at that percentage at 50, at 54%. That's not happening anymore. Okay, so we're just fine. Nothing. All that's happened was they did what they were supposed to do. All we need to do is the split. Before the series even started, I said Knicks in 5, and I feel very confident that that's how this is going to play out.
Do you think, now that we know, listen, we don't know the status of Mitchell Robinson. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if he's going to miss time. We don't know if he's just going to tape it up and just be good to go. I always get scared when I watch Mitchell Robinson go down with an ankle injury. And last time around, we thought it was just a sprain, ended up needing surgery. We all know how that went. So, Precious Achiuwa, obviously next man up off the bench in the rotation. I mean, he's a dog, but if you're asking him to guard Embiid, it's not going to be pretty, right? Just by sheer nature of the size difference there. So, iHeart can do what he can do. I mean, listen, what do you expect? Like, are you worried and I'm sure you're not, because you just said that Knicks in 5 and you're holding true to it. But taking the perspective of looking at a potential Precious Achiuwa and Joel Embiid matchup when Ihart's off the court, or let's say he gets in foul trouble like he was in today, how do the Knicks win those minutes? And how do they keep the pace? Because it almost felt like the Knicks were keeping the pace offensively, but they just started to burn out and it wasn't sustainable because they were not getting stops at all against the Philadelphia 76ers, primarily on Joel Embiid. So how do the Knicks win those minutes when Ihart's not on the floor? And let's say Mitchell Robinson's not there and Precious Achiuwa is on Joel Embiid. Like how is that possible at all?
First and foremost, if Mitch is out, then Hartenstein has to make even more of an effort not to get any silly fouls. He can't use any fouls on anybody that's not Joel and Mitch. Okay. And then also, in addition to that, he needs to stop reaching on Embiid as well. He can't always just reach in on this guy all the time when he has the ball. Listen, if he's going to come right at you, just try to stay in front of him and make him shoot over you. That's the best that you can do. Even back up off of him sometimes. Even if he's in the short and he's like 17 feet away, where he's pretty automatic, you got to let that guy, if he's going to hit that, say God bless him, especially if Mitch is out, because you have to keep your body between him and the basket and not allow him to get layups, and hope that he misses a few of those, and hope that he's doing that a bunch. And Maxey, I'm more okay with Embiid having a monster game. And if we can keep Maxey under 30, I think that's more the recipe. Get Embiid, to not be unconscious and be in the 40s, and keep Maxey under 30 and play like we did on offense, and we win the game. So I think that you really have to, at some point, say to him, if Embiid's on the floor, you have to be on the floor. Therefore, I need you to not get those fouls. Now, Precious. I thought Precious handled himself and represented himself well tonight. I thought he played well. I thought defensively he came up with some big plays. He can finish. I tell you, man, that guy, he catches the ball and like from one dribble from the 3-point line just goes up and dunks it with two hands sometimes. It almost seems like he's Stretch Armstrong or some shit. His arms are extended. But at the end of the day, Precious is just going to have to continue to step up, and I have faith in him to be able to do that, because he's shown when his number's been called throughout the season, he has stepped up. Now, it's going to be tough asking him to do extended minutes against Embiid, and that's why, like I said, Ihart's got to stay out of foul trouble, but we're going to have to double Embiid a little bit more. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
With the way that their team just shot the ball, I would be even more inclined to double Embiid and put pressure on some of those secondary guys to continue to okay, all right, campaign, have a second game in a row like that. Let's see you do that. So bring the pressure at Embiid next game. Get the ball out of his hands. Keep Ihart out of having to be on an island on him and getting into foul trouble. And then when we do that, hey, let's put some pressure on these other guys to make some of these shots, because I think if they start missing some early, I think all of a sudden that rim starts getting a little smaller, and I just don't think that they can duplicate a shooting performance like that a second game in a row. So get out there, put pressure on him, and really what we got to do also is we got to bring a little bit more physicality. If Embiid's going to get fouled going to the rim, foul him hard. Foul him hard. Josh Hart, OG, somebody who's coming down on the double team, foul him hard. The same type of shit that they're doing to us. And their guards, when they go to, if Maxey needs to get knocked down. Maxey needs to get knocked down. We keep talking about how this team is like that old school Knicks team. Charles Oakley would have knocked Maxey on his ass a couple times by now. Okay. So we need to be a little bit more physical with them and go out of our way to make sure that we are meeting their physicality with the same level, and put the pressure on the referees that if you're going to let them do this bullshit, then you got to let us do it too. Because Josh Hart is taking the rim directly at Embiid over and over again in the second half, trying to pick up that foul, and he can't get a whistle. All right, so you know what? Then I need our bigs to guard exactly like that and put the pressure on them. We know the call is not going to be Isaiah Hartenstein is not going to get the benefit of the referees the same way that Joel Embiid is going to get. But we have to continue to push that envelope and make that a tough decision for them. And just like I said, come out exactly like we did offensively. Hopefully we can get some shots to fall, and just hope that they don't shoot like that again, which I have zero faith that they will.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I'm kind of just like knocking on wood, because I don't want to see a repeat of what happened last year against Miami, where they just couldn't miss for the whole entire series, it seemed like. So I don't want a 2.0 of that. But, I agree with you. I think this is the way that you stop this 76ers team because they're so reliant on Joel Embiid. And Tyrese Maxey's a dog, and I'm honestly more worried about him toasting the Knicks than I am Embiid, right? If you take Embiid out of the equation, that team's really just not a really good all-around team. You're talking about like Nick Batum, Campaign, Kelly Oubre. Okay, we can live with them shooting from the outside. Hopefully that statement doesn't come back to haunt me. But I agree with you. And I don't know, man. I'm kind of on the fence, but like at some point, there's not enough dog in a shorter guy than Joel Embiid to just go up against him. Like you have to I don't know. I feel like height you have to match his height somehow. Like Precious Achiuwa is a tough, gritty player, like the embodiment of what a New York Knicks supposed to be. Josh Hart, same thing. But when they get a bigger opponent on them, especially Precious Achiuwa, when we're talking about Precious Achiuwa versus Joel Embiid, I just feel like there's a certain point where you're just asking too much out of Precious Achiuwa consistently. And I'm not saying they're going to leave him out there for long stretches of a period against Joel Embiid, but would you be inclined with the Knicks running like Jericho Sims out there for 5 to 6 minutes at all? Pick up 4 fouls, whatever you need to do. Oh, at all?
Embiid will embarrass Sims. I mean, the first of all, like you said, he's going to pick up all the fouls immediately. I think that Precious has more of a chance to Precious has more of a chance to at least impact Embiid and maybe make a play here or there. Like I said, when Precious is in, we got to bring doubles. We cannot let. I think throughout the game we got to bring doubles, but especially when Precious is trying to guard Embiid, you have to bring the double team. You cannot leave him on an island. But I mean, if you bring in Jericho, he's gonna pump fake Jericho to death. Jericho does not have the defensive acumen. He doesn't have the ability to stay on his feet and stay in front and to contest at the top. Listen, Hardenstein's having a tough time with it. So Can you imagine what Jericho's going to look like if he tries to guard Embiid? I don't think there's any place for Jericho in this series other than coming in and delivering a hard elbow to Embiid's chops.
Yeah, and I forgot about that because Embiid's such a dynamic scorer because I always think about like the height of it, but I always forget that Embiid just takes his fair share of shots from the perimeter as well. And Jericho Sims out there on an island with Joel Embiid from the 3-point line extended is just not going to be a good idea. Nick Loyalty here talking about Sims isn't experienced enough to face Embiid as well. I was just throwing it out there because it's like I understand Precious Achiuwa can get the job done, but like eventually the height difference is going to take its toll. But I agree with you. You're going to have to double team at some point. The rotations are simply going to be late, and whoever the last shooter is for the 76ers, you got to hope they miss. And I think that's just a risk you're going to have to take with Precious Achiuwa out there. And I hate to say it because I hate to say it. Ideally, you'd play one-on-one basketball with whoever's out there, be the better guy, and defend straight up. But that's just simply not how the rest of the series, if the Knicks want to win, is going to have to go, especially in those non-Isaiah Hartenstein minutes. So another thing here to talk about, Bojan Bogdanovic, a little quiet of the game, a couple bad turnovers, especially the one where he just decided to throw it at Josh Hart in the backcourt after they got the ball back in a crucial situation, and it ended up going out of bounds because there's no communication. Went and dove for a ball, looked like he was coming up a little limp on the wrist. That's in a cast or whatever he's wearing, a sleeve, whatever he's wearing on his wrist. A guy that has had a couple decent games in this series, definitely needed scoring off the bench, right? We're talking about Deuce McBride and Bojan Bogdanovic. What's the concern here with the Knicks bench, especially now that Mitchell Robinson, we don't even know if he's coming off the bench. In terms of the scoring off the bench, obviously Deuce McBride, I think he's going to have a big impact for the rest of the series. He's already had a big impact. I think he's going to continue that. What is your confidence level in the consistency of Bojan Bogdanovic moving forward? Because honestly, I don't know if I have much, to be honest.
So when I was watching, I didn't, looking at Bogey when he was out there, I didn't really feel like he was playing badly. I mean, that one turnover with Josh Hart, that was brutal. That was a horrible turnover. But then you look at his numbers, and he was only shot 1 of 5. He ends up being 2 of 3. he did hit that 1-3, and he ends up being a +1 on the night. Isaiah Hartenstein, surprisingly, was the -24, worst plus minus of anybody. Jalen Brunson -14, Josh Hart -13, and OG -10. The pluses were Mitchell Robinson who was a +7, Precious was a +6, and Bogey was a +1. So I just feel like I didn't actually think that the bench played that badly tonight. I thought the bench played okay. When I look at Bogey's box score, I think to myself, yeah, I need a little bit more for you. I need you to. I'd like him to get. If he gets to 10 points, I feel good. If he gets to 10, and then anything from that is gravy. But at the end of the day, do I have a ton of faith in him being able to, do that? As Nick Loyalty said, that 207 from Dante hurt us, and I hope that whatever he's got going on, getting slapped in the eye, that he's able to, get his sights back right and be the marksman that we know he can be in this next game. And I think that overall, as LV Live is hopping in, he's saying the same thing that we've been saying. Joel Embiid absolutely should have been ejected for that play. And even if he plays the entire next game, I think that we got a great chance. And I think that Bogey, you never know with that guy, but I do like the fact that when he does get in, he does seem like he's being aggressive and putting it up. Because when you're in the game, Bogey, that's what we need from you. And today, he's diving for balls. He's making block shots. It's a shame that Tibbs had to use he even had to use his challenger on that because it was a clear, clean block. I think that the refs just don't expect Bogey to actually block somebody's shot and pin him on the glass. So that's why they blew the whistle. But, I'm not too worried about him. I'm not too worried, man. This game really doesn't, like you said, this is a game that we lost. I'm very upset with the officials. I'm very, very upset with Joel Embiid and how he decides to conduct himself on a basketball court. And I think it's soft. I think it's weak, and it's just straight up dirty. And as far as the Knicks are concerned, I think that they just need to continue to stay the course and do what they do. And Brunson was magnificent tonight. He was back to being the guy that we're used to seeing. He was efficient. He had 13 assists. He was finding his teammates, and he was knocking down shots, doing whatever he wanted. And I could see Brunson being the one having 50 next game. And some of those threes that he typically hits weren't typically falling early on. And it's just insane that I can't believe that they didn't bring that up during the halftime, that they didn't talk about it at all. And I really want to see, I know guys like Alan Hahn are going to talk about it. I want to see in the national media. I want to see tomorrow if Stephen A talk about this. Does Stephen A talk about this tomorrow morning? Yeah, the game was on TNT.
Of course it was on TNT. Come on, those dudes, Shaq, Charles Barkley. Come on. I don't even want to listen to those guys anymore because there's no reasoning with them. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, yeah, screw the national basketball media. I got no interest in what any of them are saying, but it's just a testament to, like I said earlier, like it trickles down to those guys being quiet about it to just show like what the precedent and what the narrative here is behind Joel Embiid in this whole series and how this league views the New York Knicks. And the only dude that I really respect is Kendrick Perkins. He's always holding it down, and he made it a point to tweet about it, saying that's not right at all. You could have seriously hurt that man beyond just an ankle sprain. So yeah, man, that's absolutely egregious. I want to shout out LV Live, man. I also thought the Knicks played great. And by the way, if you're in the chat here, make sure you go subscribe to LV Live as well. Does some great Knicks post games on his YouTube channel. Shout out to you. I know you're a Yankees fan. I got to rep my Mets always. I know Nick is a Mets fan as well, but shout out to LV Live, always supporting the stream as well. I thought the Knicks played great too. Honestly, it took a 50 piece from Embiid. It took some refs' help to beat the New York Knicks. It took a game that didn't have Mitchell Robinson for like half the game out there to guard Joel Embiid. So listen, I think that's a win in disguise for the New York Knicks. Like everything had to go right. It was the perfect storm for the Philadelphia Sixers to get whatever they wanted and needed to move past a game and get a game against the New York Knicks. I'm not mad at all. There was no points and no facets of the game, minus maybe the free throw percentage you see on your screen here, that I'm like, okay, the Knicks really struggled in this area. I think Dante definitely, to Nick Loyalty's part, a point, was the X factor here. Didn't get much production from him. We talked about it, especially during the regular season, Nick. Like when you face these outside shooting teams, especially a team that catches fire like tonight against the Sixers, Dante DiVincenzo is one of those guys that you're going to have to rely on to match that from the outside against those teams. So that definitely hurt the Knicks. And, everything, all things considered, 75 points or whatever it was between Embiid and Maxey to only win by 11, which was larger than what the actual score should have been, right? We talked about just the last minute or two of the game. I think the Knicks played a good game, and I'm going to take my chances in game 4. If they play the same way, all things considered, maybe hit a couple more free throws. Maybe the Sixers hit maybe 2 or 3 less threes that we're literally in their face for to box out, and it's a different ball game. So I'm confident, though. The thing that I can say about the Knicks in this series is that when it's a close game and it comes down to it, I'm confident in the New York Knicks and the possessions that they take and to make the most of their possessions in a tight ball game. That's what they've showed me so far this series. And in years past, that may not have been the case. So I'm happy that at least I can confidently say that. Shout out to everyone in the chat too, by the way. LV Live, Mason was in the chat. Carlos is in the chat. Salute to you, Carlos. Everybody in the chat, we appreciate it. Nick Loyalty here. Nick Loyalty is saying, we got down and fought back. Brunson got going. We'll be fine. And Dante won't go 207 again. Like the same thing that we said, although he did have back-to-back bad games in Brunson. I'm not going to say Dante's going to not have back-to-back 207s, but we probably shouldn't expect that. But neither here nor there. We won't put a little bit of a jinx that we put on Brunson in games 1 and 2. But, man, Nick, what else you got for me tonight? Final thoughts here as we wrap up. We're going a little bit. If you guys missed the epic rant from Nick on Joel Embiid earlier in the stream, replay, guys, catch the replay. I promise you won't regret it. There were some choice words, deservingly so, from Mr. Flopper Embiid. Listen, if I had the heart to go in on the guy, I would. I don't have that type of energy tonight because, quite simple, I think it's very evident. Like, not many people, minus maybe Sam in the chat here, Samuel in the chat, is going to defend the actions of Joel Embiid outside of the Philadelphia 76ers fan base. Nobody else in their right minds can defend what the national media, what the national fan base collectively around the NBA saw tonight. Joel Embiid exposed himself tonight more than anybody else. He exposed himself to be the dirty player that he is, to need consistent foul calls on ghost fouls, phantom fouls. That clip of him flopping at the 3-point line, not even being touched, is absolutely egregious.
That should be a tech right there. That's a flop right there. I thought that was a new call this year.
Technical.
That should be a technical right there. Which, listen, I'm not expecting them to call that in this situation.
Yeah.
But seriously, after game 1, there was that footage going on of Knicks fans burning Joel Embiid's jersey. And I heard some people, criticizing Knicks fans for that. Also, I heard some people saying that, Joe, the whole fucking Embiid chance that was, poor form and that was classless. All of that shit's valid now. I burn all his jerseys on 7th Avenue moving forward after Knicks wins. All of that shit is valid now. Again, what he did was terrible. His name is Joel Embiid to me for forever, for the rest of time. He is the new Chase Utley in my mind. But with all that being said, we're just fine. Knicks in 5.
That's kind of crazy. I just saw a tweet from Woj saying, and Matt saying in the chat, that he got treated for Bell's palsy.
No, there was definitely something going on with his eye. There was definitely something going on with his eye the last game. My dad called it a silly eye in our last episode of our podcast. And I said, but I'm telling you, it's getting worse. I've never seen it like that. And he said, sometimes silly eyes get sillier as people get older. But yeah, no, he's definitely got some sort of Bell's palsy or something like that. I don't give a fuck. I could care less about that or anything else going on with him. I don't care. I don't care. You know what? He has Bell's palsy. Mitch had a surgically repaired ankle. And guess what? He just went out ahead and went after his ankle. So someone should slap him in his fucking eye the next game, because that's what he does when he sees something on us. I don't care what he has. I have zero sympathy for him. Whatever. He's fine. It's not affecting his ability to play basketball. Why are we even talking about it? Why aren't we talking about the fact that he went out there and purposely tried to injure Mitchell Robinson?
Yeah, apparently the Bell's palsy didn't affect his ability to score 50 on the New York Knicks tonight. So it's going to be very hard pressed to find any sympathy amongst us Knicks fans. But nonetheless, I just saw that pop up into my TL, and I was just like, all right, well, that's that. But anyways, I got nothing else, man. Listen, refs need to be better. Joel Embiid needs to confess to whatever he's doing and voodoo magic on the refs to get these foul calls. I don't know. But nonetheless, this is egregious. There's no way a playoff game should shake out like this in professional sports. Zero chance. No way. So that needs to be fixed. The Knicks played great, man. All things considered, I'm not going to complain about that. Listen, I know it's kind of a tough post game. It's a tough look for us to come on here and complain about the refs, but a spade is a spade, and we're always going to call it. If the Knicks went out there and played like garbage today, we would have said that. We would have said they played like fucking garbage, but they didn't. They played well. They got burned in the third quarter by some absolutely unreal shooting, and also just not. I guess that shooting is not going to be consistent. There's no way that they're doing that next game or the game after that. There's no way. So that is unsustainable shooting. And they got burned. Like, okay, so be it. 2-1 series. You still got the lead. Take game 4 in Philly, and you'll be okay going back to MSG for the gentleman's sweep. Listen, Nick, this has been fun. It's been not fun because we had to sit here and complain the whole time about refereeing and call out Joel Embiid for the foolishness that we saw on display today. But nonetheless, it's always fun to chop it up about the Knicks, win or loss. Obviously, I hope you all enjoyed in the chat. As always, whether you're catching the replay or live, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, bottom right-hand corner as you're watching this video. If you're new here, a lot more post games on the way. We're going to be doing one for every single game, schedule permitting. And subscribe to the He Did This To Me podcast. The link is going to be in my description if you're watching this on my stream. Link's going to be in the description to Nick's YouTube channel that he runs with his father. Great podcast, not only about the Knicks, but the Mets and the Jets as well. Go subscribe. Nick, take us on out of here. And as always, guys, all I'm going to say is let's go Knicks. They played great, but I agree with you, Nick. The physicality needs to be up 110 notches in game 4 by default. Let's go Knicks.
Hey, man. Get well soon, Mitch. Fuck Joel M, bitch. Knicks in 5.
Boom. Mic drop. We're out of here. See you all after game 4. Peace.
Thank you for watching the True Knicks Talk podcast. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more Knicks content.